Welcome to the Ride of My Life podcast. I'm Caroline Rena, and here, let the ride inside adventure begin. I will share what it's like on my own healing journey, and through what I learn and become aware of, provide insight to your journey as well. Hey everyone, I'm Caroline Rena, and welcome to the last interview with the most amazing person, I'll share that in a moment, on the Ride of My Life podcast. And what's happening is I've decided to take a next step into my inner peace pilgrimage on the next part of my journey, season 3. And basically, I totally did not even think to have this, but I really want to share this. So I'm going to have to look it up on my phone. And what this is, so I've changed some things, and I am now looking at sharing my journey as, you ready for this one, Sam? And then I'll introduce Sam. The Bespoke Inner Peace Guide, Sharing Hope, Harmonic Oneness and Peace for Expansion with the World. I thought that was kind of cool. I came up with that. I was so excited. Anyway, and I wanted to share it with Sam here because harmonics and music kind of go together. So, so this again is the last interview that I'm doing, and I have a most incredible human being on the face of this planet. And I started this a moment ago, and we were deciding where I found her. It was either on Instagram or Facebook on an ad. And I don't know how this happened because, I mean, for some of you, you know that I've done music, I've recorded. I was in a duo called In Divinity. We wrote songs. We recorded 11 of them on 2 EPs, had a great time. One was acoustic, one was not, one was with instruments. By the way, with a recording studio in the UK during 2020, everything was shut down. That was wonderful. So music came back into my life. And it started in my life when I was young. I sang, I played the piano, I played the violin, I played the cello, I did all kinds of things. And then when I was 13 years old, I did a bat mitzvah where I sang, and then I stopped completely. And then 3 years ago, after going through all of the stuff, the traumas, the whatever, that's when I met my singing partner. And the healing journey that I went on with him led me to bringing my music back out. And there's a big thing about not letting your music get stuck inside. What is that saying? Don't let your music die inside of you. And I'm so grateful that I had met him. And after that, because I was so interested in relearning the keyboards and, singing, continuing to sing and all that, here comes Sam, because that's what she does. She teaches piano and singing. And so I found her, and it turns out that she's got some really similar things that we have in connection with trauma and healing. And her background is amazing. And I don't even know how, it was like a 2-hour conversation.
It was great. We were like soul sisters.
That's right. I love that. Across the pond, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so here Sam is, and I'm going to introduce her with her bio, which and her name is Sam Della Haye, as you can see. And Sam is a professional piano vocal teacher, board certified music therapist, and professional singer, pianist, and songwriter. Since training at the famous Brit, is that a acronym?
No, Brit School is the only free drama school in the UK. It's where Adele went, Amy Winehouse.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It wasn't famous when I was there. Well, a little bit, but yeah. Over the years, I'm old now, but like over the years, it's brought all these amazing artists out.
She's old, she said. Anyway, okay, so she did her training at this famous Brit school where, as she said, Adele and Amy Winehouse trained, and she has gained a degree in music at Dartington College of Arts and more recently qualified with a master's degree as a music therapist at the University of the West of England. Sam has spent over 2 decades working as a professional piano vocalist, traveling the world on various cruise ships, cool, and award-winning hotels. She was also fortunate to work alongside artists such as, excuse me for a second, Sir Ray Davies, Eddie Reader, Robin Hitchcock at events such as the Meltdown Festival at the Royal Festival Hall, London, UK. So I obviously know none of this because
no, it's very UK based, isn't it? Yeah.
Based, yes. Sam teaches singing lovers to accompany themselves on the piano so that they can use music to heal and express themselves. This is where I came in. Yeah. Sam specializes in teaching not only piano and singing, but also songwriting and music therapy. Her philosophy in teaching is that it should be fun and enjoyable and should be student-led. And I just want to add one more thing. She lives in Cornwall, UK with her crazy husband and son, according to Sam. I thought that was cute, so I had to add it. Yes, ma'am. Whoa.
And a bump on the way, and a baby on the way, number 2.
They're number 2. And we still got a little time, so let's not have it on, well, maybe that would be kind of exciting. Live video.
I haven't even got the cot ready yet. Like the baby has nowhere to go.
Oh, okay. I'm sure you will figure something out. Just I don't know about having it right now.
You just need a drawer, don't you? In the old days, and they just put them in the drawer.
Yes, actually, yeah. Just pad it up a little bit. That's
fine. No problem.
No problem.
Bit of boob, bit of drawer. What would you need in the baby?
I don't know how you would handle it. You'd have to kind of, manipulate yourself to. Never mind. Anyway, so I am so excited, so excited that we're here together because Sam is such an incredible human being and she's got such an amazing story. And that's what this interview is about, for her to share her story, what kind of work she does, more in depth, and to just talk and have a great conversation and just enjoy ourselves for the next 50 minutes or whatever it is.
Good to me. That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
So why don't we start out with going a little deeper into the work that you do.
So okay, here's the thing. I qualified as a music therapist, but I didn't really fit into that world of music therapy because it's very clinical. It's very much based on people who are either poorly or severely traumatized, like severely, like we're talking about mental health issues, like serious mental health issues. Mm-hmm. And as much as I want to help people, I knew that there was a calling to help people that were, they didn't have mental health issues per se, but they'd lost themselves. Mm-hmm. Or they'd suffered with trauma, they'd survived, and they were a bit like me, and they hadn't necessarily gone to drugs and alcohol and gone down the serious mental health route, and they were actually really functioning quite well, but there's something missing from their life, something missing, like insecurity and self-worth, and I just found myself in this place where I was like, I want to help these people. I want to help empaths, high sensitive people who have suffered with trauma, but they're not those people that are like seriously ill in hospital. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Well, I is one.
There's lots of us, and actually, yes. I'm reading a Gabby Bernstein book. I don't know if you read it, called Happy Days. It's a new one that she's just got out, but she talks about big T and little t, big trauma and little trauma. And we all have had trauma of some point in our lives. Hers was a big T, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, all that stuff. But, most of my students have been shamed for not being good at singing, have been bullied at school, have been some way shamed, really, especially with music.
But these people, because I understand what that feels like, it's like we could have started a lot earlier and kept it going if we chose to, by not having that happen. But maybe life had to happen in the meantime, and we had to, you know, go down before we could come back up into a different place. I don't know, but that's, yeah, but there are a lot of people out there who get shamed for it.
And I think, especially the people that I work with, they loved music.
Yes.
They loved it. And I say loved, you know, people that work with me now love it again. But they lost that element of play. They lost that element of, you know, and I think schools don't help, because schools, it's all about education and maths and English and science and French. They really don't prioritize the arts at all. Right. But actually, now what's really funny is that you have these big corporate identities who are struggling with creativity, and so they're employing people like myself and other entrepreneurs and creative people to help their staff become more creative, because if we've lost that art of creativity.
Yes.
And we've also, I don't know about in America, but I know in the UK we don't value creativity. I don't think we value it.
I don't.
In the same way that we value a doctor or a nurse, or do you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, or computer, you know, I mean, it's all IT, it's all artificial intelligence,
yeah,
that type of thing. Yeah.
And actually, creativity is, I mean, I know you're very spiritual as well. Creativity really is the key to our soul. And we've lost, not everybody's lost it, but I mean, I know I, you know, if I don't connect with music, I lose that connection with myself, my authentic self. And a lot of people have lost that connection to their authentic self. They don't know who they are anymore. They don't know their authentic voice. They don't know what they make, what stand they need to make in the world. Like, you're amazing. Like, you know, Caroline, listening to your journey of like traveling around the world is amazing. But a lot of people, that they would just dream of that. They're too scared to take that step to actually do it. Does that make sense?
Wait. Up until this point, it's been like that. I mean, you're describing my life. It's just, I got tired of it and I didn't want to do that anymore. And I'm going to be 58 this year. And it's like, all right, come on, I've got to do something now. And the way you're describing it, it's especially for that many years, you know, and then knowing that we have this innate, creativity within all of us. It doesn't have to be the arts to be creative. It can be anything. We can create all kinds of things. But yeah, so go ahead.
But and I think also as well, this is where people get stuck. They think they have to be perfect. And they think that, oh, I can't do it because I can't sing. I can't do it because I can't play. Oh, I've never had piano lessons in my life. Oh, I can't write a song. Who am I to write a song? And in my online course and in the training that I give people, it's not about, I mean, yes, it's nice to be able to present a song to somebody. It's nice to be able to write a song and go, this is amazing. But that's not what it's about. It's about the process of actually just getting messy and getting dirty and kind of exploring yourself through music.
Kind of like life.
Yes. Yeah.
It's very relatable to life, because life isn't clean. It's not, Lysol is not part of really real life.
And you know, the thing is as well, like, have you noticed with your, you know, you're jumping in the deep end and you're traveling, or you're going to be traveling around America and all that. When you take a risk in one area of life, you end up taking a risk in all areas of your life, because you realize you're not going to die. And you're like, do you know what? This was really fun. And what am I doing? Come on, where's the next element of fun? What's the next challenge? And the more we challenge ourselves, the more we awaken, and the more alive we are, and the younger we feel, and our energy levels go up.
Yes. And that's why I'm drawn to her, because it's like, she speaks my language. I love this so much. And it's so important for us to be able to find that muse, whether it's in writing or music or, you know, painting or making a meal or, you know, raising a child. This is coming up soon again for the second time with Miss Sam.
I'm crazy. 9 years apart.
9 years apart. Mine were 6 years apart. So that is a little, okay. No judgment. No judgment whatsoever. But yeah, I mean, when I had first found her, there was this like draw. She's got, well, first of all, I'm going to brag about you a little bit.
I love it. No, it just feels really weird because I'm like, she doesn't know me really, does she? I'm just this simple hick from Cornwall.
No, not exactly. She is not like, you're a powerful, beautiful soul. You've got an amazing spirit. You've got an amazing voice. I've heard it, which I'm gonna maybe poke you a little to do. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, but she's so far so good. We're moving right along here. Without coughing. We don't have that happen.
I had COVID 4 weeks ago, guys. So just explaining. And I said to Karen, I was like, don't make me laugh, because if you make me laugh, I'm going to go just cough for about half an hour.
Okay, well, that'll take up a half an hour and I can just talk while she's coughing. Okay.
Yeah.
I like talking though. All right. There it is. You had to do that, didn't you? Anyway, so the beauty, it's not even just in her voice. It's how, when I watched her webinar, I was like, like, you couldn't see us in the webinar because you were just right. You're going, oh my God, okay. And I was so ready to write my song and get in there and and now I'm relearning the keyboard, and she taught her, the way she teaches is like, I've never experienced an ease and a grace with teaching the way you do it.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. And it was just palpable, you know. I mean, it was like I was so ready to jump in, and then I did jump in. And I got myself all in my head in perfectionism, like you were talking about, and I jumped out again, and I jumped in, and I did actually come up with some chords that I've been playing around with and stuff. So she got me that far. I just haven't, with the preparations and everything, I haven't had time to kind of stick with any of that. But the positivity, the energy that you put out there, the love you put out there, the peacefulness you put out there, that's what draws people. I mean, except for the fact that you're good at what you do, that's why you have these people coming to see you. At least from my perspective, that's how it felt for me. You know, you're like the mother of beautiful music.
Thanks.
Literally, there you go.
That's very kind of you. I think, okay. In fact, I gave someone a lesson today, and they were like, do you know what they said to me? They said, well, I know you've had like years and years of piano lessons. I'm like, do you know, I've had 3 piano lessons in my entire life. And they were like, what? I'm like, yeah, I'm self-taught. And I had a very, very amazing, unfortunately, I think he's probably passed away, because I think he had cancer about 20 years ago. So you must, you know, but he was amazing. He's called Mr. Every. And when I was at school, I was at drama school, boarding school, and I just didn't get on with anybody, but I had the solace of music and songwriting. And it felt like I just wasn't good enough with English and maths and all that stuff. But when I went into the music room, Mr. Every had time for me, and he used to listen to my little songs, and he'd see me playing on the piano, I make it up. And he'd go, Sam, why don't you try this? 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 And he was amazing. He believed in me. He just nurtured me and mentored me. And I said to him, shall I get some professional piano lessons? And he said, no, don't do it. Don't do it. And I'm like, yeah, but you know, I want to learn to read music. I want to learn. He goes, don't. He said, you are in flow with music. You are loving the instrument. The moment you go to classical piano lessons, you're going to hate it. You're going to hate it, and you love it. So, I was baffled. I was like, yeah, but surely I should go to piano lessons. But what's really interesting is now teaching piano, the way I teach piano. I mean, I've been teaching 15 years. And when I first started, I thought it was an absolute fake, because I don't read music. And you know, the first 2-3 years, I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to realize I'm not a piano player. They're going to realize I'm fake. But what I realized is that I teach the way I taught myself. And it's very simple. It's patterns based. It's not based around being, you know, someone with a ruler rapping, you know what I'm saying? And
do I know what you're saying?
But I have so many students that have been classically trained that hate it. And yeah, okay, so you're one of them, right? And like, I know so many people that had piano lessons when I was with Mr. Every, who don't play piano now
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't learn the joy of piano. They didn't really learn the essence of why you learn to play piano.
Well, it's so mechanical. It's
Yeah.
technical. It was never, I just remember my my grandmother standing over me while I was at the piano, making sure that I would do all my whatever,
Oh my
And I
God,
did.
scales, so boring.
Oh, it was terrible. I did learn a few songs. I did do a couple of recitals. I have a knack for it. It was awful. It was the most deadening experience because, and then the challenge is that those of us who've been taught that way, our brains are already in there. And sometimes, well, until I met you, you gave me like 3 words. I don't even remember what the 3 words were you said, but you gave me these words and I was like, oh, are you serious? And I actually sat down and then I still couldn't figure out what you were talking about. And then recently I just sat down at my keyboard, I think it was about a week ago, and I took those the notes that I wrote down and I was doing them in a certain way. And then all of a sudden I started doing, and I'll let you explain this, but it was like, I'm adding what do you call them? The
improvising around the chords.
Well, yeah, but there was the other word that you use. I can't remember.
Oh.
But then I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? What's happening here? I don't know what's going on. And it sounded really good and I didn't record it because I was just excited to sit down and do it.
But Caroline, it sounded really good. And this is it, in the classical world of piano playing, you have to spend year upon year upon year doing really boring stuff like scales and learning all the technical boring theory.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then you might start to sound good in 4 or 5 years, or once you've got all that stuff. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the way I always came to the piano was the piano spoke to me. I know I'm a crazy lady right now, but like the piano spoke to me. I'm sitting at the piano, I mean, being 12, sitting at a real wooden piano going, the wood is talking to me. I used to talk to trees. I was a bit crazy, but I used to talk to trees.
Hold on. Okay.
Is that not crazy? Am I in good company? Okay, great.
Very good company. So if she says that again, then I can say that we're both crazy because I do the same thing. I don't remember the piano talking to me because it was yelling at me. Maybe it was talking to me, but it was yelling at me. It was probably telling me to stop. Go ahead.
but there was something about this wooden piano that, and I don't get the same thing with a keyboard. I mean, I haven't played a real piano in quite a long time actually now because when I was in piano bars, I got to play real pianos every day, which was lovely, but I don't have the space for a real piano. When I do weddings and so forth, I bring my keyboard. But there is something about a real piano. There is a soul, soul, and you can just literally play one note on the piano, and
you can feel it. Yeah, that's the resonance in the wood.
Yeah, in the wood. It's like
wood.
a massive big hug. It's like a massive big hug, and I don't know. And I think the thing is with classical piano is you're so busy focusing on the scales and the technical stuff that you forget the beauty of one note. Just the beauty of one note with the pedal. And so that's what I teach. I teach you how to kind of play piano beautifully, like that, because I'm not teaching you all the crap.
She's doing it again. I'm like drawn in. You do that. Did you see where I went?
No, I know.
The
crazy ladies.
No, yeah, woo! Well, okay. So, and it's interesting because before I ask you, I want you to give a little bit more of your backstory and your what you experienced. But music is healing. People,
so
music
healing.
Has a healing quality to it. Now, there's discussion nowadays, and I've had a little bit of personal proof to myself on the vibration or the okay, so years and years ago, I can't remember right now the full story, but instruments were set to 432 hertz. They're not set to 432 hertz anymore. They are at 440. This was something that came out of World War II, and there's some sort of this is where it gets hard for me, because I don't understand. There's a dissonance in the 440. However, when you're listening to beautiful music, you can't necessarily hear the difference. But if you play it next to each other in 440 or 432, your body can feel the difference. I don't know if you know any of this stuff. Do you know any of this stuff?
No, but my husband would love to talk to you about this, because
that's right. We're supposed to talk to him.
he is a sound engineer, so he totally understands he geeks out on like hertz and waveforms and all that stuff.
So yes, yeah,
like, it totally goes over my head, but he basically probably has a clever answer for you.
Well, and here's the thing, it's not even like 432 is the healing resonance of the body. It goes into it goes into the cellular structure. Our brains are set at 8 hertz. I'm teaching you something right now. Our brains
listening. I'm like a student ready to learn.
And the earth, Mother Earth is set, she resonates at 8 hertz, 7.8 something, 7.82, something like that. So our brains resonate with the earth. That's why we need to be out in nature to resonate with the earth. And so if you have ever listened to singing bowls or that type of music therapy, or the metal bowls, whatever, they're all set to different frequencies. There's like 5, there's what they call, I think it's King David's frequency or something like that, which is 444 hertz. And it's the A. It's based off of the A note.
Right.
In all the cases. I have no idea what that means. That would be where your husband comes in. But what I do know is that from 444, it'll break it down into different frequencies, where like 528 is love, and that's the one I know off the top of my head. And I don't know how this works. Maybe I need to interview him, because that would be a great conversation about this.
He does geek out a lot though. he's a real engineering geek. Like,
okay, so don't want to do it.
No, but I'll ask him if you want to get.
Okay, that'd be cool. That'd be really cool, because I'd be interested to share that, because people don't understand how that affects the body, how that affects the cells, how that affects the each one of our chakras is a different frequency, Mm-hmm. So, all right. Anyway, so that went off on a trail, but I think it's just important that music is healing, and I think it's important that people need to understand that. And it's important when we accept that we can recognize that. And it's part of the process, So anyway, I was going off on a tangent, but
I think also as well, I mean, music is healing. For me, I think music has been my connection to God and to the soul and to the universe, and music has been the purest form of love that I have ever experienced.
So look up 444, because that's exactly what that's what the King David.
Right. Oh, okay.
Connection to God. Yeah. So you would definitely appreciate that. I want to have you share what your story is, because it's so profound. And here's one thing that I talk about. I noticed that there are people out there, because I have felt like I was one of them, who you share the piece where you had a mentor to guide you, and it completely shifted your existence in life, massively. And there are people out there who don't have or never had a mentor when they were a child. And I was one of them. And I think that not having someone that could guide me like that, and who really, accepted, and what was the other? I mean, he totally built you up from his energy, from his who he was, And the people out there who don't have that, that's like that lack there kind of causes, there's somebody out there who desperately needs a mentor, because it's not easy to learn how to be our own mentor unless we have somebody guiding us that we can mirror. Like, about this with our mothers, they're the ones who are our mentors at first. And if they're not a great mother, then having someone else in their place at some point to do the things that they weren't able to do helps the growth and healing of the child. If you've never,
you need a secure attachment.
Yes.
If you don't have a secure attachment, that's when things start to go a bit wrong.
Yes. And that's where, because I know that like the only difference I see between the two of us is I took the long, hard way in trying to figure myself out by myself. And you had you had a mentor, and you had somebody who was able to lift you. And I never felt that. And I'm not sitting here saying, oh my God, my whole life is falling apart. I can't, because I didn't have a mentor. I'm just trying to say that it's helpful to be able to create your life when you've had someone to support you like that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think it's quite interesting, actually, because when I was working as a clinical music therapist and I was working with people with trauma, I have my own perspective of my trauma, but everyone experiences trauma in a very, very different way. And it's so complicated. And, I was lucky, and I had my gran as well. So my gran, it's interesting, actually, because my husband said to me last night, he said, how did you learn to love? Because you never experienced love as a child. I said, well, no, I did. I had my gran until she died when I was 7. And he went, oh, right, I get it. And so if you've never, ever experienced any form of love, I can't stand in your shoe. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just very different.
Well, it is, and that's the thing. It's like the kind of, I know my parents and my grandparents loved me. I lived with my grandparents. They were so hurt, they were so broken and traumatized themselves.
Yeah.
That their love showed up as material, taking care of me, material, not materialism, but physically, like the roof over my head and my food and the emotional availability wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. And I'm glad. And that's interesting that he asked that question, because it's just something that I've kind of been trying to figure out how it is that it's so easy for some people to go through their work and break through more quickly and all this, and I'm like, what's taking me so long?
but also I had a hypnosis session yesterday.
Ooh.
Right? And it was all about this. It was all about self-worth. She took me right back to when I was back as a child, and she got me to see my other gran, who was the abuser, from her perspective, because she was heavily traumatized. But even though I've had 300 hours of therapy, because I'm a therapist now, I've had hypnosis, I've had personal development, I've done Landmark, I've read zillions of books, I am still healing. We are all still healing.
There's no destination.
When someone rejects me, it's still, and it annoys me, because it was only like 5 years of my life.
Yeah.
And if someone rejects me, oh my gosh, it is not, it is the biggest pain.
Well, that's also due to the fact that when you say 5 years of your life, when you said that, this was like back when you were little, correct?
Between 8 and 12. Yeah.
Okay. So, and then whatever happened prior to that, because as little children, we're sponges. So between the ages of 0 and 6, whatever we did or didn't receive at that point sets the stage for whatever comes next.
Yeah.
And that's where the emotional, like, we don't know how to do it if we don't have anybody in our family who can show us love and show us connection and show us who we are and that we're good enough and that we're amazing and all this stuff. We don't know how to find that. And if nobody says it to us and they expect us to see it, it's not there. and if it just doesn't, you can't say, like some people when they go into I call it a complex PTSD flashback, which is an emotional flashback. And then when you're in the middle of now complex PTSD is like stacked emotions from many, many years of trauma, whether it's regular PTSD, a visual or a felt experience or body experience, whatever. And then the PTSD just stacks up on that. And when someone just sits there, you're going into, fight or flight, and you start getting anxious, and they're like, oh, relax. And you're like, my body's doing that. You can't tell somebody to do that.
Right. Because you're triggered, right?
Yes.
And something else is running you, really.
Yes. And Dr. Bessel van der Kolk.
Oh, love him. Love him.
Yeah. He wrote a book on how the body is the one that it keeps score. It's the one that holds the emotions. That's why, for years when I found out about, what do they call that? It's shaking. I can't remember the name but animals do it when they get into a fight or something like that. And have you ever, or like a cat or a dog, if they got into a fight, have you ever seen them? They're just like, they shake. Our bodies are supposed to do that, but we have stuffed all that stuff down so hard and so much that we can't do it anymore. So literally for like 4 years, when I found out neurogenic shaking, neurogenic shaking, something, I would literally and I've done this, I have to do this now because the very first video I was on, I did it. So I'm going to do it again. So it's just like, or having a temper tantrum or something, just getting that energy out. That's all of the stress hormones like going through your body. And when you do that, when you kick and scream and it gets all that stuff out. Yeah. And if you don't like it and you don't think it doesn't work and try it until you're so tired that you can't move, and then do it another 10 minutes. It will shift things. That's what like saved my life.
But what's really interesting as well? I'm reading a birthing book by Juju Sandin. I don't know if you know her. She's Australian physiotherapist, and she talks about pain management in birth. Yeah, and she talks about the vocalizing, and there is something so powerful about ooh, just that concentration of sound, getting that energy out, the pain released.
Yes. That's
whether it be emotional pain, physical pain, getting it out.
But that's where it all comes back to, the voice and music and harmonics and all of this stuff. It's all part of our healing. That's why music is healing, and that's where we went full circle. So now tell us what you experienced, and you can be as vulnerable as you want. You don't have to go deep if you don't want to. You can whatever you want, whatever you feel comfortable and safe doing. I just want people to see who you are, because you came from deep challenges. And you're doing amazing work to help other people walk through deep challenges. And I just want people to know you.
It's interesting, Carolyn. I've never been scared of being vulnerable, ever. I've never. And I even remember people saying, you shouldn't tell people your story. You shouldn't, shh. And in itself, it's like, you're silencing me, because I was silenced as a child. I want to, so who I am is the possibility of courage, change, and humanity. And I am a voice for the people. That is my purpose. That has always been my purpose since the age of 7 or 8 years of age, when I started going through the trauma. And in fact, I was saying this to my hypnotherapist yesterday. She took me to this exact place. And, even when I was going through my trauma, and I'll explain what the trauma was, I had the deepest sense and knowing that it was for a reason. It was for a reason. And that's what got me through day after day after day after day, because it's relentless. For trauma, when you are in trauma, it is relentless, especially if it's long term. I mean, okay, maybe like a rape is maybe, but then you've got the after effects. But like when you're a child and you are trapped in a circumstance, and you don't know how to get out, and it's literally day after day after day. The only way to survive is almost by rising up, a bit like Nelson Mandela. And there's a lot of people in prison actually, or people that have been wrongly accused, that say I have a higher purpose, and you have to think like that. And so my higher purpose was always, I am a voice for the people, and I have to help people just like me to have their say, and to be heard, and to be listened to. And so I think that's why I've never been scared about being vulnerable about what my past, because if I can't say it, then no one else is going to be able to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So and very, very briefly, my mum and dad separated when I was 7 or 8. My mum had a lot of past traumas and issues and so forth. She left, and my gran, who was my mum's mum, it's all hereditary, really. She came and she looked after us, and my dad had to look after 3 children, a baby, a 6-year-old, and me, who was 8. I was the eldest. And my dad, in Jersey, it's very, very expensive, so my dad literally just worked 24/7. My mum was in hospital, in and out of hospital with mental health issues of all different, alcoholism, all that sort of stuff. My gran was a seriously abusive narcissist, to the point where she would shame me every day. She'd say, and can I swear on here? I don't know.
I don't care.
She would basically every single day say, I'm a worthless piece of shit. No one fucking loves you. Just really abusive language. From about the age of 7 to 12, and then I walked out. And that's the story you heard at 12 when I walked out. But here's the thing, is that when I was going through that, I had music. And what's interesting is the hypnotherapist said to me yesterday, she goes, where do you think you got your love from between the ages of 8 and 12? And I used to listen to late night radio love. And I used to listen to love songs. And listening to those love songs was my love. That's where I got my love from. Was literally, I'd curl up in my bed, I'd hug myself, and also I would speak to my gran who'd passed, my good gran, who I was very attached to. She'd passed away, but I'd speak to her. Like, she was there every single day, saying, I love you, I love you, I love you, it's okay, stroking my hair. I know that sounds weird, she's dead, but she was stroking my hair. And so between the love songs and my gran, they held me for 4 or 5 years. Now, this is before learning to play piano, singing, anything, any of that.
Can I say something real quick? Because this just it was a download. It's like, maybe it was your gran. It's not weird.
I'm starting to understand that people may think that's not weird, but I thought it was very weird for quite a while.
I get it. It sounds weird, and it definitely sounds weird to some people, and they don't understand what it is, but it's not weird. That's the truth. That's what actually occurs in this universe. And just because people don't understand it, that's your guidance. That's your love. That's your bliss. That's your journey. And being able to experience something like that it's powerful. Humans may think it's weird, especially based off of what we've learned, but it's just that's the truth. That's what real is. It's real. It's not weird.
Yeah, for me it's very real. Yeah. And she was with me every single day till I was 18, like literally, or till I became a very strong Christian at 18. And it's almost like she said, here you go, I'm going to pass you to God now. God's got your back, but that's really the start of my relationship with music, because if I didn't have music, those love songs in the evening, that was my soothing. I remember even being like 6, having my tape player, and literally all I want for Christmas is my 2 front teeth, playing it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Because it was, when you're that young, that was my love. That's who loved me, music. That's who loved me. And then fast forward fast forward to when I was 11 years old, and I just had enough one day. I mean, there was a lot going on leading up to that period, but I I just had enough, and I tried to run away. Well, I hadn't tried, but I'd been like going in my head, like I'd started to look for dens of like places, and like if I was to run away, like, you know, where would I live and all this stuff. And I started to plan it. And then one morning, me and my gran had this massive argument. And for the very first time in my life, the lioness came up. Me, I just. And this little girl who's 11 said, I'm not doing this anymore. And I walked out the door, and my gran had said some seriously very, very nasty things at that point that morning. And I remember just being in floods of tears. And I walked out that door, and I was just like, I am never, ever, ever going back there again. And that I share that story in Secret Truth because people are very fearful of doing scary things. And I share that with you because I was 11. I had no money. I had no idea where I was going to go. I didn't even pack my bag, like, because it was so spontaneous. But in that moment, I learned that if you want something bad enough, if you are so suppressed, the lioness rises up, and everything opens up. Everything opens up. And I share that story because a lot of people are fearful of singing in public. They're you know, and it's like, if that little girl can walk out at 11, you can sing a song in public. Do you know what I'm saying?
And now I don't have a problem with that. I think for some reason, and this is the reason right here, what you just shared was why we needed to have this conversation, because I actually needed to hear that. Because stepping out, you know, I mean, I'm not like fully funded. I don't have, you know, I'm like going, oh my God, what the heck am I thinking? You know, that type of thing. And if you can do that at 11, I don't know if you want to share how that progressed or whatever, but you're right. If you can do it at 11, I've been literally over the last month, I've been meditating every day for like 4 times a day for about 20 to 30 minutes. And that has shifted a lot of things into knowing that I'm taken care of. Just like you said, I'm taken care of. I will be taken care of, whatever that is. And I never felt that before. And when you said that, I got like tears. I call them soul tears, because that's like a recognition that I was meant to hear that, and everything is going to be okay because I am taken care of, because you know what I'm saying? So thank you for sharing that. If you want to kind of expand on it, that would be great.
But I think also as well in life, and well, fortunately or unfortunately, that was a learned behavior then, because then I realized I'm just going to be absolutely reckless in my life, and you know. But can I just say, every time I have been reckless, I don't regret any of those times. I don't regret any of those times. Like, there was a time in Chichester when I was living with my boyfriend, and I was like, I'm going to move to London next week. And he went, what do you mean you're going to move to London next week? I'm going to move to London next week. I was completely reckless. I didn't have a job in London. I didn't, you know, I'm just going to move to London. And I found a flat, and I had to commute twice a week to Chichester, which is where my work was, to transition to London. But I did it. You know, I don't know if you heard the story about how I became a professional singer. You know, I was absolutely reckless. I did an audition. I got the part. I knew 2 songs. I should have known 600 songs. I walked on that cruise ship, not like literally knowing 2 covers to a professional gig, singing in front of 2,000 people.
Wow.
You know, but all of that comes from that 11-year-old girl, from learning that it's okay. You will always be okay.
Always land on your feet.
Always be okay.
Yeah. And sometimes we don't believe that, but it's still true.
Well, I mean, for example, with you traveling, like, okay, so what are you scared of? Like, what's the worst that can happen?
That I run out of money.
Okay, so be resourceful then. So you go into, you make sure. Oh, have you heard of Mary Morrissey?
Who? What?
Mary Morrissey.
Mary Morrissey.
Oh, she's got a brilliant story. So she she was a Christian preacher, and she had a calling to just get in a van with her family, her 3 kids, and basically drive around America and preach. And she just completely trusted in God and the universe that she would be taken care of, like completely. Like, anyway, they traveled around America, and they were doing okay, and she was doing all these different talks and making money on the road. And then one day, for some reason, her husband made money via cleaning windows. But there was something in Florida. They were in Florida, and I can't remember what it was, but he couldn't clean the windows because there was a drought, or there was something. Anyway, he couldn't get work cleaning the windows for whatever reason. And she couldn't get work talking for whatever reason. And they literally had 3 kids in a van behind you, just like that van behind you, you know, trusting in the universe and God. And she literally had $7 to her name. $7 to her name. And she's praying, and she's like, okay, God, this is getting a bit tight now. Like, I do trust you, but $7, you know. She walks into a superstore, and she's like, I've got to feed the kids. What can I feed the kids? Pasta, that, you know. And she literally fed the kids on pasta because that's all the money they had. But what she said was, even though because her thing is manifesting money and like manifesting things, right? And she got to the checkout, and she had, I think it was like $5 worth of food to last her 24 hours. And she was like, God, in her head, she was like, I'm doing everything that you have suggested. I'm praying, I'm trusting in you, I'm doing all of this stuff, but nothing is happening. And then she thought, she was like, oh my gosh, I am not contributing. I'm not giving to charity. I'm not serving. And she had literally $2 left from her $7. And she was like, this is my last $2. And she put it in the charity bucket. And then she was like, I just completely surrender. I completely surrender now. And she gets back to the van. She feeds her children. And she's just like, okay, this is it. This is it. And then her husband walks in and goes, oh my gosh, you'll never guess what. I've got all this work. and it starts raining, you know, work and money and so forth. But sometimes we have to surrender.
Mm-hmm. It's surrender. That's where and that's where, again, the tears, that's exactly where I'm at. It's like I'm doing everything. But what's interesting is I'm also giving energy and time to people. Mm-hmm. Like, I have learned that it doesn't actually have to be money, that it can be energy and time, because it's also the same. Money is energy.
Yeah.
So I know that everything works its way through. And I'm human, and I'm just like her. Where I'm like, you know. So I hear that. And thank you for sharing that story. I just read a book about a woman, I forget what her name is, but from 1941 to 1981, she called herself the Peace Pilgrim. I don't know if you've ever heard of her.
No.
She got rid of all of her stuff. She started connecting with God. She had a tunic with a toothbrush and envelopes and paper and a pen, and walked around the United States of America and North America and South.
Wow.
25,000 miles in 40 years.
Wow. And
she was just talking about peace, you know, and these inspiring stories are incredible, because I have no idea what's going to be out there. All I know is that I'm supposed to be guiding people to inner peace. That's it.
And have you experienced the desert yet?
I have not on this thing, but I've been out in the desert.
When I mean desert, I don't mean physical desert. I mean when there's nothing coming from above, and you're like, hello.
Oh, then yes.
And how? Because I have just come out the desert, literally. I like all of last year with the Singer's Piano, because it's all God led, and it's all everything I do in the Singer's Piano. I don't like yes, it's me, but it's not, it's, you know, like God is like saying to me, do this, do this, do this. And I'm going, all right, then I'll do this. And from about January this year up until I would say 2 weeks ago, maybe even, you know, and I'm still not there yet. I'm like, okay, God, I'm ready. What do you want me to do? And there's like nothing.
Okay, that's where I'm at, but it's not 2 weeks, it's Saturday.
So how do you deal with being in the desert? Because I think it's really interesting how, um, like, yeah, have you got any stories about that? Like how,
You know, I don't even know if I could call it a story. I could call it a how-to, maybe. The only thing that and some days, like within the last day, 24 hours, it's been harder. So it's harder to talk about it. But I do know that when that happens, I sit in it. I sit with the emotion. I sit with the space. If something comes up and I just need to cry, I just let the crying out. And then I go back and I sit with it. And then I will talk to my little girl, my inner child. It's okay. Everything's good. We are taken care of. I am supporting you. We are being supported. And and it took me a long time to be able to do that, because for many years, I'm like, my little girl's hiding out in the, the corner of the room. And I'm like, well, I don't know how to talk to her. And now I'm doing that. But the biggest thing over the last probably month and a half to 2 months has been grief work. It's like just letting it all, releasing any of that energy, and then sitting with whatever comes up, anger or fear or shame or sadness or, whatever it is. Last night, literally, I was like, okay, I'm leaving in 2 days. And I just got like one client this week and everything shifted. But it's interesting because things are being pulled out of my life. People are being pulled out of my life. It's almost like it's being prepared for me. And I don't know what that is yet. And I heard it twice, and I've heard this in the past before. When you leave, that's when things are going to open up. I've heard it before. And I'm like, and interestingly enough, this time of year is like that for me. So when I left my relationship, partnership, whatever you want to call it, last year on August the 6th or April the 6th. Interestingly, it's April. I don't know what's happening, because I was going through all my photos and everything. And it's like, oh, I got out of that in April, and I got out of that in April, and I got out of that, and I'm doing it again. And I'm leaving on, so it's April 20th this time. And I'm like, okay, all right. And then last night I got mad. I'm like, all right, I can't deal with this crap anymore. You got it. What do you want me to do? But there's nothing for me to do right now. I can't do anything until I do it, until Saturday. I'm just preparing. I'm getting all my stuff packed up. So sometimes you have to sit. Sometimes you have to actively release, whether it's stuff or emotions or whatever. And sometimes you have to pack when you're getting ready to go. And then sometimes you just meditate. And that's all I've been doing.
And it's interesting, isn't it? And it's the trust thing again, isn't it?
Oh God,
Trust,
surrender, trust the process. Yeah, it's not, I don't even know. I'm just talking out my kazoo here right now, because I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know.
See, it's interesting, because when I was praying, I mean, this was back about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and there was something in me that said, Google the crucifixion. And I'm not like a very strong Christian. I kind of swing between Christianity and spirituality and universe and all that stuff. And I've never really, in the nicest possible way, never really believed in Jesus per se. Like, it's never, I'm not saying Jesus doesn't exist, but I've never really got him. That's another story in itself. And something in me said, Google the crucifixion. So I Googled Jesus and the crucifixion, and oh my gosh, there's so much gold in that. Because Jesus obviously did not want to be crucified, and he was saying, God, why are you making me suffer? Why are you killing me? Why are you doing all this? Like, God, what, questioning the when everything goes well, we're like, thank you so much, you've answered my prayer. But when it doesn't go well, we don't go, maybe that's God's will as well.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Here's where gratitude comes in. Yep.
And yeah, so it's just interesting anyway. It's but also funny enough, when you talk about spring, that's when I'm most creative with songwriting.
In my range,
Like,
I know what you mean. I know.
yeah.
Yeah, that's really, I don't know. I mean, this is, I don't know how to have a conversation around this because we don't know what's coming next. And interestingly, like I am aware personally of things. I know things are going to happen. I just don't know what they are. And before everything happened in the Ukraine, which I don't have family there anymore, but part of my ancestry is from there, and Russia and all that. And 2, 3, 4 months before anything happened, I kept saying something big is going to happen in March. Something big is going to. So I'm having that again. And that's what I kind of go by. And yeah, okay, you want to talk about crazy? I know that people who know me will think I'm nuts with this. I know it.
I don't think you're crazy though. I think we just got to find our tribe of people. That's all.
That's
it.
Just
got to find our tribe.
Yeah, that's true. So I want you to share anything else. I mean, why don't you talk a little bit about maybe your program or just share some of that.
So, yeah. So I've just been all on a hippie spiritual conversation for the past hour. I love it. Okay, so if we were to talk about even, I'm guessing a lot of your listeners are like us anyway, right? They quite spiritual and
Not necessarily.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, here's the thing. I could be reaching spiritual people because of that. I could be I know I'm reaching people from my past that I was like in college with and different things like that in high school and stuff like that. But lately the spirituality and inner peace and that type of thing is touching people more anyway.
And the funny thing, Caroline, is that if you are meant to be listening to this podcast, that's the universe totally aligning you with where you should be right now.
That's right.
And a lot of my students say that. They go, oh my gosh, like you're the answer to my prayer. I literally just prayed last week and here you are. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I kind of get that now because it's happened so much. Do you know what I mean? Like we get put in just the right place at just the right time sometimes, don't we?
Yes. So I want to ask you a question before you go into what you do.
Yeah.
And this it's kind of like an Oprah thing.
I love Oprah. Soul Sister. Was it Soul Searching? I can't remember. It's called.
Yeah. So this will be a little bit different because I can't remember what she asks. But here's my question: what is your truth?
My truth is when I absolutely honor my feelings and my instinct and my gut. That's my truth. Like, and talking about the inner child. So I have completely been run by my 3-year-old for the past 4 or 5 months, I think.
Because you're about to have
probably, yes. But when I step into that knowing, when I step into that leadership, that role of like my absolute inner knowing, that's my truth. Does that make any sense? Mm-hmm. When you absolutely trust your gut and you go, I may be talking absolute crap, but I'm not, because it's me and this is my truth. Does that make sense?
That's because when we think we're talking crap, it's usually not. And to some people it might be because they don't resonate, and that's okay, but it's our truth. And it feels good. Doesn't it feel good when you're speaking your truth?
Absolutely. But and here's the thing. I've realized from running my course, the more I speak my truth, the more my students are like, whoa. Yeah. The more they're like, oh my gosh, I so needed this right now. And I'm like, really? Okay. Well, all right then. Because you don't realize how you're impacting people. And this is the same in music. And so going back to the whole music thing, people might be listening to this and going, oh, I'd love to do music, but who am I? Or, what impact can I make in the world? And the thing is that you don't know the impact that you're going to make in the world with your music. And it's not for you to assume it either. It's not for you to assume, well, I'm awful and I can't sing in pitch. And you're not allowed to do that, really, because God's given you a gift. And it's a case of you just going, okay, I think I'm crap, but actually you might be completely inspiring people. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
I do. It's, it's funny because it reminded me of a couple of weeks ago, I did an interview with another metaphysical doctor, whatever person, spiritual person. And she just put a really cool book out, and we were talking about that. And I remember going to her book launch she just did a Zoom with a book launch. And I don't know if you're old enough well, you will be because you're in music, but the Fifth Dimension. Do you know about the Fifth Dimension? So they were like, I guess, a hippie, spiritually kind of band back in the 70s. And I used to own their album. Did you hear me? I owned their vinyl album, right? And one of my favorite songs was the one that she brought out on this book launch thing, and it was "Let the Sunshine In."
Oh, yeah.
And we were singing that on our interview together, and we were having a wonderful time with that. And I was like, so anyway, I just wanted to share that because it's cool, because all these things are coming together with music and poetry for me. And I love watching what's happening with the spiritual aspect and the universal aspect, and all this stuff is coming together. So when you're doing your work, that's the key. The universal is coming together. It's bringing all of this stuff together.
Yeah. And I think what's really interesting, and I kind of do believe in miracles now, is like every time I run Piano Vocal Success, my 10-week program, there is magic, and I don't create the magic. Like, it's not about me. It's about the fact that people are finding their voice, they're finding their truth. And it's not actually even about piano and singing and songwriting, which I teach. I teach you how to put your finger there and how to do that. But it's so much bigger than that. It's actually about people reconnecting with their souls, reconnecting with the universe, reconnecting with the magic of the vibrations of music, does that make sense? And the healing.
Yes,
the healing that comes of it.
100%. It makes perfect sense. It makes,
it's just, and this is, I guess, why I'm different, like, to just like your normal YouTube guy, piano, because that's not what I do. And like, people are like, oh, I just want to learn to play piano. I'm like, it's not really what I do. It's not, I mean, I teach it. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm a piano teacher. I want you to be a good piano vocalist and songwriter. But it's more, I feel like I'm like a music life coach or a music spiritual guide,
You have a song that you've written, just play, maybe you can play like the first couple of verses with it or something.
I will
share
play
in relation to what you're talking about.
Okay.
Spirit, universe.
Ooh, spirit, universe.
Or watch. We could actually do. She'll make one up on the spot. I've seen her do that.
Why don't I do that?
Why don't you do that? Go ahead. Yeah. Yes, go.
Okay, I feel inspired to inspire. Okay, so this is how I started, guys. So when I was very young and I was bullied at school, I used to sit at the piano and I used to just make it up. So I'm going to do this for you right now. I'm going to just channel something. I don't know what it's going to be. And I want to show you this, actually, because I want to show you this little technique.
Yay!
Let me show you this little technique.
It works. There it is.
There it is. But you can't see my face because
Okay, good.
But listen, if you have a piano at home, I want you to play around with all these black notes, okay? And these 2 white notes. Actually, no, let's do this one and this one. So this is the F and this is the C. Yeah? I can't remember what key we're in because I'm not very good with theory, but yeah, so all the black notes, the F and the C. Now, even if those white notes are too hard, just do the black notes. So for example, this is something that I made up. I'd start with just doing this. with the pedals, so it's like resonating. And you just let the space, you let the sound of the music. And so this is how I started, literally how I started to play piano. And then I would start to create something. So like, I'm just going to close my eyes. In fact, I am just going to do the black notes, because then you just got the black notes. So I'm just going to sing. It's a crazy time. I don't know who to trust. I don't know who to listen to other than myself. It's a crazy time. All of a sudden things are going black. And the music is falling down a well. Oh, but I know I'll get there someday. I know I'll get there someday. I know. And I just let it flow.
That's the word. That's the word I was going to say. Flow. Flow is
just let it flow. And I mean, don't get me wrong. I was really frustrated because I wanted to play all the white notes, but I was like, no, just play the black notes. And I mean, but you know what's going on in my head right now with where I am. I just sing and let the words flow. And I did that for hours in the piano rooms, hours before I made up any songs. It was almost like a journal, a musical journal.
And what's so cool again is that it's not, I mean, obviously you have to do it a little more than just once, but when the way you teach it, the simplicity of learning it is, no pun intended, key.
Yeah, well, and I've been where the thing is, I mean, I've taught little children for about 15 years, you know, so I know when I'm in the piano room with children, you know, I mean, obviously that was very detailed, but little children don't do that beginning, but what they can do is one finger, you know, or two fingers. You know, you can improvise around a whole song just on two notes.
Yeah.
You know, I have 4-year-olds that can do that.
That's what I'm saying, though. It's like, it's a good thing that you were working with children too, because that gives the like, I know that most people who struggle with something like this learn better at a 3rd grade level than they do at a master's degree level, you know, because it's like, okay, I don't understand, you know.
But you know, the funny thing is children are actually easier to teach than adults. And I'll tell you why, because children don't have that shame that adults have. They don't have the back history. They haven't got the perfectionism hat on. So like I could give a child 2 notes and they go la 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 la, there was a Barbie in my garden and we had loads of fun with the donkey, and they have so much fun and they play. You try and tell an adult to do that, they're like
I can do it without a keyboard. I can make up words. If I hear like a couple of words and they start sounding like they're rhyming, then I'll start doing that and I'll start saying.
A lot of people can't though. A lot of people get so stuck in perfectionism.
But that's right. It's like children what is I don't even know. I don't quote the Bible, so I don't know, but there's something in there somewhere that says something, Jesus says something about being as a child or be as a child or be as, I don't know what it is, but it's what's the word? Children are just, what's the word that begins with an I think? I can't think of it right now. I don't know, but it's like everything is open. They're just open. And we've shut ourselves down so much that we need people like you to help open the flow again.
Well, that's the thing. As children, we come into this world as souls, right? And we're kind of old souls in the sense that we come into this world as souls, and then people batter us and shame us, and what happens is this little soul gets boom, 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 and this tiny, tiny, tiny little soul, when we become an adult, it's just been bombarded with all this crap. And so that's what I do. Basically, that's what I do with music. I basically help you get rid of all of this crap so you can get to your soul through music and through play. And yeah, oh my gosh, like that's brilliant. I've never said that before. I'm like, right, I'm gonna have to.
So awesome. Oh my God, that was a download, and I didn't write it, and I'm gonna have to listen to the end. Now here's the thing. Sooner or later, I'm gonna take that course. I don't know when I'm gonna have time to do it, but sooner or later, I'm going to do this because I really want to just. Right now, I just want to get out there and sing and have fun and but then to combine the two, that would be really cool because I really like to do it. And here I'm just pretend, so for anyone who wants to connect with you, you take your course.
So at the moment, I'm about to go on maternity leave, and the course probably won't be run till next year. This is the 10-week course, but if you want to just get started, and you're inspired and you're like, oh wow, I just want to learn a bit of piano and singing and songwriting, I suggest that I've got a freebie that you can download completely for free, and it's Learning to Sing and Play Perfect by Ed Sheeran, and it's just a little taster. It's a tiny little taster where you can learn, it's very, very simple piano that's absolutely for beginners, just to get a taste of what it feels like. And then I don't know when I'm going to be opening up Piano Vocal Success. I know there's going to be a lot of changes in the next 9 months, but stay connected. I send a newsletter out every week. I do free trainings every week, so be in my world for 9 months. Nothing's going to be sold to you because I'm not in that space, but you're going to get to know me, and I've got loads of free trainings that I can give you in my Facebook group. I literally just did a training today in my Facebook group. So yeah, you can connect with me.
You have Facebook, you have a website too that people can go find out about. You've got a couple of websites that people can find.
Yeah, so the best thing to do is to contact me. Let me just have a look. Actually, this is some. I think it's www.thesingerspiano.com/perfect. Let me just double check. I can give you the link anyway.
Yes.
In fact, let me just write that. Let me see if this is right, because I change it all the time. Thesingerspiano.com/ See, I'm not a big company. You can tell I'm not like, I haven't got my. Yeah. So if you, thesingerspiano.com/perfect.
The Singers Piano. Okay.
Yeah, The Singers Piano, not with an apostrophe, so just straight. Yeah, and just get to know me. I mean, a lot of my students, they've been with me for 2-3 years before they jump into Piano Vocal Success. They just get to know me, and then if you do jump into it, we're like family. It's I'm explaining, I'm just finishing up now with this 10-week program, and like, oh my gosh, we've only got a week left. I'm like, yeah, but you're family. Like, I'm not going to desert you. I'm not going to, like, we've spent 10 weeks together. I'm not that type of course creator that's like, bye, thank you very much, taking your money. And it's not like that. It's so much bigger than that,
It's a soul connection.
Yes.
That's what you do. It's not even and music and teaching all this stuff is your tool.
Yeah.
With other souls.
Yeah. Exactly. So thank you so much, Caroline, for having me. And best of luck.
Thank you. And you didn't have anything else you wanted to share real quick for anything or before?
No, I think I'm good. I've got another call, so I'm going to have to make a move. But
so everyone, thank you so much for being here. I'm so grateful, and I appreciate you listening to this last episode on season 2. And I'm so grateful that Sam was kind enough and willing enough to be here to have some fun and share some music and help some healing, help souls to heal. And I look forward to seeing you on the next season. Take care.
Bye.